Hey guys, Fezzy here and welcome back to another Hytale news video. In this video, we will be diving into the newest Hytale blog post named Block Tech. Before I begin, I would like you guys to reply in the comments, what do you think the Block Tech blog post is going to be about, and do you think it will be helpful and useful in game? Of the blog post where Hytale talks about RGB tints. For those who do not know what RGB tints are, they are color tactics that allow you to change an object to basically any color you can think of as seen in the picture here. Here's the description that Hytale gives us under that picture. Hytale's creative tools can be used to change the RGB tint of any block. By changing the red, green, and blue properties of each texture, you can dynamically change its color. Above, you can see an extreme example of this technique. The ground is composed of the same basic grass block, but different areas have their RGB balance shifted to the extremes. What Hytale is saying by this is, in the game while you are creating your own world, you will be allowed to change the default look of a block, any block for that matter, and change into any color you please. This is a very unique feature that we are now aware of. It will allow for a lot of multiplayer servers and builds to be very unique. Here is a visual of what exactly they are talking about. As you can see, the grass starts a default look for grass, but slowly tints into a much more blue type of grass. This will allow you to correlate the grass with the theme you are going for in your world and will be a ton of fun once the game releases to mess with all of the different types of colors and shades. Next, we will be covering the transition textures in Hytale's blog post. This is the description that Hytale gave us as readers. Transition textures are used to create smooth transitions between different block types. In the example above, you can see how grass, sand, and gravel intermingle without hard lines forming where the blocks meet, as well as the transition texture feature is one of the many tricks we use to try and break up the cubic nature of our game, says Nicholas Bainlugadier. It is an extra quad with a specific texture that can appear at any boundary between different blocks. It's defined on a per block basis with a set of valid blocks that it can target. Builders can use this feature to create nice transitions between blocks. In their description for the picture, they do a fantastic explanation, but our explanation would be that when you place certain blocks, the textures of those blocks will integrate with the block next to it, giving a very nice transition between the textures, hence the name, and will be great for nature builds. Now, moving on to the model maker integration. You will be able to use the model maker to make your own formation of ores and how they glow in the deep depth mines. How Hytale says Hytale blocks can be rendered in several different ways. The most basic kind of block is simply a cube with a texture defined for each face. We also have blocks that use models and textures defined in the Hytale model maker. These provide creators with the freedom to create some pretty cool effects. We also have a hybrid type of block that uses elements of both. This is useful for combining ore with several types of blocks, depending on the location that you are in, says Bailu. It means that you can find ores in stony areas, sandy areas, and so on. In the example we provided, you can see how models created in HMM are used to create the sense of ore emerging from the surrounding environment. They even glimmer in the dark. Moving forward onto submersible blocks. As you can see in the picture above, the chest in the water flows into the chest, making the underwater experience feel way more real when in the deep depths of the underwaters. Hytale gives a brief description of the submersible blocks. This is what they had to say. These hybrid block types can also be used to create interesting interactions between blocks. In this example, note how certain blocks, the vegetation and treasure chest, intersect with the water, creating the impression of being underwater. Submersible blocks can be any block in the world, says Kevin Karstens. Using a simple option in the configuration file for the block, it can be made to submerge in any fluid, which are also just special blocks. The purpose of this feature is not to impair fluid physics with fences, flowers, or other non-solid blocks. Karstens continues and says the benefit of this feature is that you can make good-looking flooded areas. Slicky continues, you can have fences in your river to block NPCs and harvest flowers from the bottom of the ocean, as you can see in the trailer. As you can see in the trailer, we have lots of corals in the game, which integrate perfectly into the underwater world. This gives us as players a greater look at how the underwater experience will be in Hytale, and it will feel a lot more realistic now with this confirmed added feature in the game. The next part of this blog post talks about the varying foliage in Hytale. This is what Hytale had to say. Hytale's treetops provide an example of how custom blocks can be used to create visually diverse environments. Each tree is topped with a crown of leaf blocks, which have unique properties that help us create varied foliage. This means that the actual foliage block is square but looks angled because of the textures. It is given near the top of each tree. Now, where do you think they made these textures? Well, if you guessed in the Hytale model maker, you are correct. And here is Hytale's explanation on the actual leaf block. Note how the leaf texture bisects the block from multiple angles, rather than appearing on the outer surface of the cube. This immediately helps the block feel less, well, blocky. But we go one step further. Every time a leaf block is placed, we rotate it to create the sense of random leaf placement. Next, we will talk about the ambient animations portion of the blog post. This is what they had to say. In the clip above, you can see how long grass sways in the wind and how it reacts as you move through it. This is a special effect that can be applied to a block to help environments feel more dynamic. The effect you can see on the grass or leaves is done on the shader level, says Bailu. It is a vertex displacement formula based on the presence of a nearby entity. From all of this nature information we are getting from the blog post, we can start to realize how real this game will look when playing. When moving, swimming, mining, and about every other physical thing you can do in the game, seems like there will be effects for each and every one. Some people might not look at this sort of thing to be huge in the game, but it actually is. It shows how Hytale cares about the experience of the player and wants you to feel as comfortable as possible when playing their game, just as if it were real life. Continuing on, we will be discussing the particle effects of the block breaking as seen in this video. This is what Hytale had to say. Punching blocks to demonstrate particle effects. For the purpose of this demonstration, we've made each block break in one hit. This won't be the case normally. Also, the punch animation in this clip isn't final. Hytale also has a system for attaching particle effects to block types. In this example, you can see how each block breaks apart in different ways when it's destroyed. We have particle block event sets that can be linked to blocks, explains Matt Sellers. Each can define a particle system for various block events. Examples of events include walking and running across blocks, interactions with soft and hard materials, as well as hitting, breaking, and building with each type of block. Particle effects can be tinted in the same way as blocks too. Particle effects add a lot to the overall gaming experience, Matt says. It gives you a feeling of being in the world and actually interacting with various environments you explore. For example, splash effects when you jump into or out of water. What this tells us as players is, just like the ambient animations of the grass blocks, that every block will have its own particle animation, which again will allow for everything to be much more natural. Last but not least, the interactions and animation states. This will include doors and other blocks that can be opened and shut. We're going to leave that up to you guys to decide in the comments what you think other open and close blocks there will be in the Hytale game. This is what Hytale had to say in the interactions and animation states portion. We've also built systems to allow blocks to animate in sophisticated ways. In the clip above, the player approaches a pair of double doors that swing apart when they're opened. This uses some sort of underlying technologies that we have, says Nick Zero Drabj. For example, the ability to display an animated block inside of the world. When a door is opened, we can change the underlying block to be the open door block, Zero explains. Zero then concludes with, then we visualize that for players by playing an animation on the block's model. The same system is used for trapdoors, chests, levers, lanterns, and any other block that animates between different states. When Hytale launches, modders will be able to use the system to create their own block interactions. As the system is now, it will be very easy to create custom blocks that change state when interacted with, Zero says. When custom functionality is needed, our interaction system will allow modders to handle these with more complex cases without too much hassle. Hytale's block system is designed to support immersive and interactive environments, whether you are playing adventure mode, building your own world, or designing a minigame. But guys, that is all we have for today's video. Let us know how you think of the newest blog post, and make sure you subscribe if you guys are new around here for daily Hytale content. We strive to keep you guys up to date regarding Hytale, so make sure to tune in daily to never miss anything we have to talk about. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at HytaleNewsYT, as well as join our Discord. We've been eager to interact with the community some more, so now's your perfect time to join. Anyways guys, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you for the next one. Signing off, Fezzy the Frog.